I've seen plenty of times game jams happening where a theme is revealed and everyone has to make a game related to the theme. They can work solo or be a part of a team. It always seemed really fun, but I don't really know how to code. The extent of my coding knowledge is this program that simulates the fight between two characters, but it has no visuals. It consists of only text. So realistically, I can only help with the art side of things. And I never bothered to make a team since I don't know who I would team up with. And I would feel unfamiliar in a foreign place. But an opportunity has appeared. In the TWOW Central community, a game jam was being hosted. I am in this community, and there's plenty of people that I know, so this is my chance to team up with people I know, and funnily enough, I still ended up with 2 people that I didn't really know before, but now owe them thanks to participating together in this event. And if is the developer, they needed someone to make songs. The Kokok Quartz filled in that spot. And they also needed someone to make art. That's where I come in. The theme is crossed over. They were brainstorming interpretations for this theme and thought to make a crossword type of game. Meanwhile, Rain was thinking of a chicken crossing over the road. Actually, there's even a game called Crossy Road, which is pretty much that. So we just thought to combine those. A chicken has to explore a map to find some hidden letters and bring it back to the center to form a word. But while doing so, it has to cross some roads and avoid being hit by a car. Here's a visual proof of concept of that idea. And we were off to working. We had 5 days until the deadline, and I wasted the first day trying to find a team, so we actually had less time. I haven't drawn a chicken before, so I looked up some reference images and made this. I'm really happy with how aesthetic it looks like and with very soft colors. Also screw cars. The idea of having carry train was much funnier, and they got permission from the video creator to use it, so I had to draw it. I decided to make the tiles 32 by 32 pixels and drew train rails in every possible direction. Now, we have 6 different tiles for the train to walk on, and I made the top-down train, making sure that the face is still visible. Then I made 7 tiles for making the rooms. 3 of these represent the floor, 1 represents the wall, and I just thought, as decoration, to have bird nests and eggs. But then from the eggs suddenly came the idea of what if the letters are hidden there. The developer decided that the eggs have a 50% chance to have a letter, and that letter has a 50% chance to actually be in the word. And that's all I did. 13 tiles, a chicken from 4 angles, and a train. This didn't take a crazy amount to draw. The amount of work everyone had to do was disproportionate. The developer needs to work a lot more to implement all these features and make them properly function. There is a lot more pressure on them, and the only way I could help is to be an emotional support and to give my opinion on ideas. Since I wanted to do more with this event, I offered my help if there were any more teams that needed art from me. After some time, I got a message. Someone needed my help and asked me, but it was at like 4 a.m. and I was asleep. So by the time I woke up, it was already covered by someone else. There were plenty of artists there, so the demand wasn't super high. I had to take it upon myself. I'm going to develop my own game. Even though I don't know how to code, how am I going to do it? Making tabletop games is also an option, and for that you just have to lay out some rules and information in a Google document. Side note. As I'm writing the script, I realized that using Scratch was also an option, and I definitely know some amount of it, but oh well, too late. Also, I anyways kinda don't wanna make new accounts just to use it once, and likely never again. Anyways, my board game. I was actually planning for a while to make a silly board game, but it doesn't fit with the theme, and it's something I wanna do without worrying about a deadline. Time to think of a new idea. Here's what I came up with. You have 2 pieces. I made an example 2 triangles, but they can be anything you put on the board. They have 2 different paths that sometimes cross over each other. Those points are marked with orange. This game is played between 2 players. The goal of the first player is to get both pieces where the paths cross over 3 times. It only counts if both pieces are at the same time on the same orange point. The goal of the second player is to prevent that from happening and sabotage as much as possible. If the pieces reach the end without them crossing paths 3 times, the second player wins. Otherwise, the first player wins. Each round, the first player rolls the dice from 1 to 6, and the number it lands on represents the amount of steps both pieces have to take. For example, the dice lands on 3. The first piece moves 3 steps, and the second piece also moves 3 steps. Each square has a symbol on it representing an effect. When either piece lands on these, the first player has to decide whether the effect will take place or not. There are various effects that desynchronize the pieces and might be helpful to reach the goal of the first player. Winning is not possible without using any effect, but every time the first player chooses to use an effect, the second player is able to draw from a deck of cards which might contain debuffs or power-ups. Therefore, the first player needs to be strategic about which effects to use and which not, to prevent the second player from drawing too many cards to use against them. Here is a list of all the effects. There are 8 of them. They can freeze a piece in place, or make you move only one piece, or even reverse the direction you're going in. And here is a list of all 10 cards that the second player might draw. The higher the number, the better the card is. 1 is useless. 6 can force a reroll if the first player got too lucky, and 10, the most evil one, you destroy a crossroad. There are only 6 of them on the map, so if the second player destroys more than 3 of them, they automatically win. Since it would be impossible for the first player to win, to roll the dice or draw a card, you can just use a random number generator from Google. Let's play a bit to simulate how a game would go. The first player goes first and rolled a 3. The first piece goes here, and the second piece goes here. Let's analyze what we landed on. This one is directly onto the crossroad. If I use it, the piece will be frozen in place, and next time I roll the dice, only the other piece moves. I could potentially land a 3 and score our first crossroad out of 3 we need towards winning. But if I land higher or lower, then we miss it. The other symbol dictates how much each piece moves. Again, I could land a 3 and make this piece move 0 steps, and the other 3 steps to get to the crossroad. But this time, if I land lower or higher, I could move both pieces, and I can control better. What? Our next effect we land on next, that clearly has an advantage, so it's better to use that, and I landed on 1. Very unlucky. I have a choice. I could get a shield to protect us from the cards, or I could get to the symbol which allows you to move any piece 2 steps in any direction. It happens to be just 2 steps away from the crossroad, so it's a no-brainer to do that. That's the move I made. Now that I finished using the effect that allowed me to make this move, the second player can now draw a card. They land an 8, which means this card. It modifies the dice, making it worse, but with also the risk of making it better. Let's say they are not willing to take this risk now and they save the card for later. Now take the no-brainer move using this effect, and I score my first crossroad. Since I used the effect, the second player can draw another card. Slow motion. Next 2 rounds require twice as many steps. Second player decides to use this card and the other one. They land on a 3 and the dice is halved. Now I can only land 1, 2, or 3, and no matter what I land, I can only move 1 step, since I would need a 4 in order to move 2 steps, and so on. You get the idea. It seemed simple when I made the game, but now, it feels like it requires more brainpower than even chess to take into account all moves and all possibilities, especially when you land a 6 on this symbol, and you have many different combinations of 2 effects the pieces could land on next, which might confuse the players and make it not super enjoyable. I did not test it very heavily, so there might be some other issues that I'm not yet aware of. Now back to the team. Our game is called Rogue Crossy. There are 15 hours left, and most of the game isn't done. Only 1 room has been done. No train has been implemented, and not even the letters. We encounter bugs. The texture doesn't show up. It got fixed, but the letter is off-center, and the egg still appears there after it's been broken. Sadly, the game hasn't been finished. It's a bit disappointing cause I really wanted out there to be a playable video game where I could say I was a part of that. Regardless, I am still glad I had this experience. Thank you for letting me be a part of a team. The deadline has been reached, and there have only been 4 submissions. I was supposed to give my game a name, but I never did. And the placeholder name remained there. When I noticed it in the voting form, it was really funny. We have a twist TWOW called Telephone TWOW, where people submit different halves of a response, and then pass it along. It looks interesting, but I don't know much about these kinds of TWOWs, so I don't really know how to judge when I don't have what to compare it to. The other game is a custom script of an already existing game. Since I have no context of the game, I can't really judge it. And last but not least, the only submission that is a video game, Verbo-City. Straight up 90% of people that participated in this game jam participated for this submission alone. The team for this game is so big. I wonder how the coordination went. I'm instantly hit with pretty visuals. Before I continue, I warn you that there will be spoilers. So if you want to play the game first, here's the link to it. It seems to be a platformer game. We can turn into a booksona. The art style is so cute. It's funny how if you jump close to the edge of a block, you remain midair. So we collect letters and make words with them. I couldn't for the life of me figure out what the word was supposed to be, and it was an embarrassingly simple word. Bird. Thankfully someone else already played the game, and I just cheated by looking at them struggling to find the right word. I actually already played the first level before I started recording, but I'm going blind and for the rest of it, so you're seeing my actual first time I look at these levels. A new concept is introduced. The reason you turn into a book is so that you can go through bookshelves, so of course, I immediately started to try to get stuck in places I'm not supposed to be to hopefully find bugs. Next level has a double jump mechanic represented by double prize responses that you're supposed to collect. I reached a rather tall wall, and I had to get clever with how I should collect these double jumps. I liked the challenge. It turns out I wasn't supposed to go there. Anyways, I then tried to have as many double jumps at once as possible. I got 6 of them, jumped off the other side of the map, and finished the game. I'm curious to see what the game would look like if it was continued to get developed. It could be really fun. I think this game will win. It is the most accessible one. It's the only one where you can immediately start playing, and you just can't compete with a team of 10 people. And with the rest of the games, I have absolutely no clue in what order they'll go. They are all so different from each other that it's like comparing apples to oranges. I'll probably go last place, but we'll see. 4th place still sounds like a lot if you don't know how many participated. The results have arrived. OMG, I got a :3. As expected, I got last place. The enjoyment is super low, which makes sense. It's quite hard to follow to instructions. So many of the rules are ambiguous, that's why I had to make paragraphs of examples for every single thing. And yet still has a fair bit of ambiguity, especially when multiple things interact with each other. You might end up having to come up with an interpretation with how things go. It would have helped if a gameplay video was made with someone explaining the rules as you go. I did a bit of that earlier in this video. Creativity gets 8 since I closely followed the theme, and the style is very simple and clean. Here, didn't have much of a chance to use my usual art style, but wait, a no reverse card. That's actually the rating of the one who is hosting. When we look at the community votes, I somehow come out at 2nd place, and I don't know how, and this game won. While this game jam was fun,